Tonight, the 7 Action News investigators are taking action to expose a menace in our neighborhoods. Metal thefts out of control in Detroit, and the problem is spreading to the suburbs and even some of our rural communities.
It is quickly turning viable neighborhoods into eyesores. Action News investigator Scott Lewis has been undercover for weeks now. And Scott, you caught some thieves right in the act.
That's right, and you're about to see them in action in broad daylight. You'll also hear from a lawmaker and a cop who say it's time to tighten the screws on scrapyards that are buying stolen metal. The man pushing the shopping cart isn't headed to the grocery store. He's a professional metal thief. He makes a living stripping aluminum and copper from vacant homes. That's him on our undercover camera, ripping an aluminum window off a vacant house. Another day, another vacant home. Here he is on the roof, knocking aluminum siding off while his partner collects it and loads it into a shopping cart. Here's a different crew at work in the same neighborhood, taking down huge sections of chain link fence from a vacant school in broad daylight. They load the big rolls of fencing onto the roof of an SUV and head off to the scrapyard. This has become an epidemic in Detroit.
They're kind of dismantling our city, aren't they?
Completely dismantling, taking it apart bit by bit.
The metal thefts you just witnessed happened in the neighborhood that State Representative Rashida Tlaib lives in and represents. Thieves have knocked out streetlights by stealing transformers. And when the community refurbished this playground for the kids, metal thieves moved in and stole huge sections of new fencing.
We're suffering. I mean, we have no lights, now we have no fence for our park. Every corner you turn, there's yet another house that's been a victim of scrap metal theft.
And it's destroying our city. This 2009 study ranks Detroit number 2 in the nation for metal theft insurance claims. The study's author says metal theft is making the foreclosure problem worse and destroying neighborhoods.
When you see these homes where they've had the aluminum siding just ripped off the sides, you know, they look like shaved cats. They're very forlorn. Who's going to buy a house next to that? You know, who's going to buy that house?
The owner says this house was in move-in condition with a signed lease when the thieves moved in. He says it's been stripped 3 times now. It's beyond repair, and he's walking away.
So they're destroying his house while he's trying to fix it up?
Absolutely. That's so as we fix it up, they take it out, they destroy it.
Metal thieves are getting bolder by the day and finding new things to steal.
You name it, you think about it, they're taken.
Lieutenant Derek Hassan heads the Detroit Police Copper Theft Task Force. He says it's not just copper and aluminum anymore. They're also taking iron and steel. Hassan says emerging countries like China are gobbling up scrap, driving scrap prices up here and fueling the theft problem.
So we're kind of stripping Detroit to build up our competitors in a way.
I think you're absolutely right. You certainly can look at it that way, and I think there's some validity to that.
Hassan's task force has had some success. In 2007, thefts of these huge AT&T phone cables were averaging 1 a day. Thieves were clipping them off poles, burning off insulation, and selling the tangled copper strands for big bucks.
Every single night in the city, there was a cable theft, and those cable thefts cut power, telephone service, and internet service to entire neighborhoods.
Working with utilities and scrapyards, the task force cut phone cable thefts to almost nothing last year. But Hassan says there's still a long way to go, and he says the solution is to tighten regulations on scrapyards.
Where there is no buyer, there's no seller. I can't put it any simpler.
State Representative Tlaib has drafted a bill to increase regulation of the scrap business statewide.
I really think that, you know, some of these industries, leaders in this industry need to step up and realize that this is a huge problem. They need to do something about it.
The head of the Scrap Dealers Association in Michigan says they have stepped up and offered suggestions to fight theft.
Yes, it is a problem. Yes. I'm not going to give you a crazy answer. It is a problem, and we're at the table to try and reduce this and stop it. 0 is the goal.
But Tlaib expects strong opposition from the scrap industry, especially on a provision to ban cash transactions, something the police are pushing for.
I think it'll hopefully kind of suppress that quick fix, if you will, with some of the stolen material.
Remember the playground fencing, the school fencing, the aluminum siding and windows? It all ended up at this scrapyard, Southwest Metals on 4th Street. When these guys went in to sell their stolen siding, the 7 Action News investigators confronted them.
You just stripped that house over on Senator, didn't you?
No.
We watched you do it.
On Senator?
Yeah.
No,
We got pictures of you stripping the house. You don't own that house, do you?
I didn't strip no house.
We have pictures of you, dude. You were up on the roof. You were with this guy.
After we walked in, the scrapyard refused to buy their stuff and sent them packing. The owner of Southwest Metals is no stranger to police. In November, court records show he was charged with 3 misdemeanors under current city and state laws for failing to keep records on metal purchases. Joe Fawaz pleaded not guilty. Representative Tlaib is expected to introduce her bill soon. The investigators will stay on this important story. Scott Lewis, 7 Action News.